Day 2 of training camp complete.
Hey, this is Brain Chen.
Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about day 2 of training camp. So we're going to assess what happened today on the ice. We have a game tomorrow night against Dallas. And of course, my favorite Friday segment, Are We Feeling Blue? We have a busy episode today here in Locked On Blues, and I am so ecstatic to give you, my listeners, my friends, my everydayers, the most up-to-date information on the St. Louis Blues every single day. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down here because we keep it fun, we keep it interesting, but most importantly, we keep it blue. Okay? So get ready for what is about to go down. So I want to start off by saying this. Day 2 of camp. It was more focused offensively today. Yesterday was more of a defense day. And I think with Jim Montgomery, right? He's so transparent. He is so upfront and he's so honest, not only about the players, but about the goals and the expectations. And he's so big on giving the younger guys a shot, a chance, an opportunity. But he does acknowledge that they need to fight for it. And at camp today, you're kind of getting the first day jitters out of the way. You went through that, and now you're getting ready, honestly, for the first game, which is going to be tomorrow. And at camp today, what I found interesting, and again, I always want to give credit where credit is due. I have fantastic writers that I follow personally, like Lou Korak, and then of course we have JR, who are just such icons in the St. Louis market. So whenever I give credit, I always want to make sure that you all know where I'm getting my information from. Now, the St. Louis Blues do a really good job of sending me the videos from the day, but of course, it wouldn't be complete without the awesome reporters down in St. Louis asking the questions. So, this is something that I want to address, and it's about Jimmy Snuggerud because Jeremy Rutherford posted a tweet and he said, through day 2 of camp, Snuggerud has looked really good. However, quote, I told him, you better not get an apartment yet. You've got to make the team, Jim Montgomery said. Yeah, I know, Snuggerud said. It's the best league in the world. I'm trying my best to do that. And the reason why I bring that up is because you don't want to get complacent. While Jimmy Snuggerud did have a fantastic 7 games here in the regular season, and then, of course, in the postseason, the one round against Winnipeg, you can't just automatically assume that he's going to get a roster spot. I feel like this is a very competitive camp. We talked about the competitive factors of everything with camp. So for me personally, I really appreciate a couple things. One, I appreciate the transparency that's going on right now between Coach Montgomery and Jimmy Snuggerud. I feel like these are not easy conversations to have with players, but at the same time, you need to make sure the focus is there 100%. And if the focus is not there from the players and they think that they're going to automatically make the team, then you may not always get the best effort out of them. And I know that might sound a little bit funny, right? For me personally, I cover another NHL team. And today, the same thing was kind of said to players on that team by the head coach. And I think for head coaches, right, they have a job during training camp. And it's to find the best players to make your opening night roster. And for whatever reason, if you feel as if maybe a player just isn't there yet, despite them having a few good games up in the big club, you got to be honest about it. But I have no doubt that Snuggie is going to make the team. But I do appreciate the transparency, the honesty, and the push that Coach Montgomery is giving Snuggerud. I think that when you look at the younger players on the Blues, you can't help but get excited about these guys, right? There's so much talent. And exactly in a sense of internal battle, that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of during the camp. And that is why, and I know later on we're going to talk about the game tomorrow, but I think overall, though, we have so much that we have to dive into even before we get to the game itself. And I think that, again, when you have a coach that's upfront and honest, he also insinuated and said, actually, not even insinuated. Coach Montgomery said, and this is from the transcripts, by the way, courtesy of the St. Louis Blues. Always, again, want to give credit. He talked about the American Hockey League. And he said, even if somebody doesn't make the team, right, the big club, and they go to the AHL, he said they're better American League players because you get familiar of where you're going to. And I think that really does honestly mean a lot in a sense. I'm a big AHL fan, and I think the game of the AHL has significantly improved, right? And I think for me personally, I think that it's better for these guys instead of going back to their juniors teams to go to the AHL. I think that's the purpose of the AHL. Now I know about the whole age thing and not all the players are going to be able to, which I understand. However, if you have the opportunity to go to the AHL, you should go to the AHL, right? But I again, I appreciate the honesty for Monty because I think that again, the Blues were in this really weird transitional period with Drew Bannister, and I'm not trying to say that he wasn't a tough coach by any means, but at the same time, he wasn't necessarily holding the players at accountable. And when you have a squad with the Blues, especially trying to see all the young talent in tomorrow's game and just in the first couple of days of camp, because you're going to have to make cuts. Other teams have made cuts. You're going to have to make cuts. Tough decisions are going to have to be made sooner rather than later. I'm a big believer in that. Now, I do understand that there's a couple players that you might want to wait until the final couple of days of camp before you make those cuts. However, for some of these guys, they're going to get a look tomorrow and then cuts will be made. And it's unfortunate that cuts have to be made, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to need to be done in order to kind of secure the best possible team for this upcoming season. So for me personally, right, I think that today at camp, I saw a lot of videos that Lou posted. And, Snuggie just looks so good. And that was really the big content that I saw today was Snuggie. And it's unfortunate that camps can't be live streamed or else I would be watching 100%. But from the few videos that I saw, again, courtesy of Lou, Snuggerud looks really good. So if he just continues to show up the way that he has at camp so far, I have no doubt that he is going to do good things. And that's another kind of talking point too, in a way, is about what you do with your time while at camp, right? You have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to prove to the coaches why you deserve a shot and why you should make the team. And when I see players take advantage, especially a player like Snuggerud, and especially what, Monty said, obviously they're rooting for him. Obviously he's high up there in the organization enough to where, he's getting talked about this much. I think that he was just so impressive, especially in that series against Winnipeg, to where it's going to be a conversation about, hey, this could be a guy that can make your starting team. And that to me is exciting. I think that the Blues are in a really exciting place at the moment. I think that there's going to be obviously some disappointments with some cuts. I know for me personally, I am hoping Dvorsky makes the team. However, I am fully aware that he may not out of camp, and that's okay. But again, when you have so much talent and limited roster spots, that's where the tough decisions come in. And then there's another question that I actually have, and maybe you guys can answer in the comments. Think, now, just hear me out. Matthew Joseph is somebody that deserves to make the team. Now, I know about, I'm just saying, based on playing wise, nothing else factoring, no contract, none of that. Do you think so? Because I battle with this sometimes with certain players where I'm like, you know what? I'm seeing a lot of good things from some of the guys that are, prospects or even just some of the guys on the AHL side of things play really good hockey. Now, obviously, transitioning that into the NHL, it's not going to be easy. Nonetheless, it just brings up a really interesting point for me in a sense of, do some of these players deserve an opportunity because I think some of the younger guys do. But again, when you have older guys taking up roster spots, that might not be a possibility. I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I personally love using FanDuel because I'm big into the same game parlays. So, what I am going to do this Sunday, I'm a big Birds fan, go Birds, is I'm going to have Eagles money line with a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown that always usually hits. I make some money. I put $5 down. I get $5 back. Boom. That's a profit. So that is what you should do if you want to win some extra dough, gray me. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So we have our first game tomorrow against Dallas, and I am personally so excited about this game because we finally get to see the guys in action, kind of. I know it's not going to be the lineup that we necessarily are going to have an opening night, right? But I want to read you the lineup because I actually really like this lineup. Forwards: Justin Carbonneau, Dorian Dvorsky, Holloway, Dylan Holloway. Woo! It's so good to see him back in the lineup again. Adam Yeko, um, Kazamenki, Matt Luff, Matthew Pekka, Simon Robertson. Robertson, that's another one I told you guys about that I really like. So again, I'm just saying, Nitika Suzev, Alexei Turchenko, Nathan Walker. And Alexi and Nathan, I feel like they play so well together, so I'm excited for that. Defense, of course, we have to have the other half to the offer sheet. So it's Philip Broberg, Lucas Fisher. Lucas Fisher is another player I like a lot. Matthew Kessel, Theo Lindstein, Logan Mayu, and then William Mizaic. And again, Logan, big game for him. Theo, big game for him. In net, my guy, my guy, Jordan Bennington, and then Colton Ellis. This is going to be so much fun to watch. Just, you don't understand. I'm not going to get emotional. You might be wondering, Haley, why would you get emotional? That game 7 in Winnipeg. A part of me is still in pain. You know what? I'm still in a lot of pain. But mostly because we didn't have Dylan Holloway. And just seeing that there's a lineup with Dylan Holloway's name back in it just makes me so excited. I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a complete loser, but it just makes me feel optimistic and hopeful for the season ahead. And a part of me does think it's a little silly that we do play a game actually. A couple days after training camp, right? We're in Dallas, but you know what? This is a good group of guys. And again, we get to see Dvorsky, a guy that I like a lot, and Simon Robertson, Nathan Walker, Extension Walker, Broberg, Fisher, Mayu, Binner, the winner, Ellis. Like, I'm just excited. And Justin Carbonneau, honestly, has been so impressive. He's been such a standout at camp. So, for me personally, I'm going to be locked in and tuned in. There is also Russell Palooza. I'm a big WWE fan, but again, that's why we multitask. So, I'm excited about that. I do have a clip, though, courtesy of the St. Louis Blues about what Logan Mayu had to say after camp. This is after day 1, but I wanted to show you this video just because these are his words. This is what he said, and I want to do him justice. You know, the Blues send me a bunch of video, and I want to be able to show you. So again, this is courtesy of the St. Louis Blues, and this is Logan Mayu.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. High pace. Guys are competing. So I've been here for a few weeks, but it's good to kind of get camp going.
How's the transition going? Is it seamless fit in this locker room? Just tell me what that's like.
Yeah, I think so. The guys have really been great. Just kind of showing me around and taking me in. So it's definitely been awesome.
What have they told you about your opportunity here in camp and going forward, what you could provide to this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just got to kind of come in and earn it kind of every step of the way. I think just play my game and kind of show what I have, and hopefully I can contribute.
Help you to have a little bit of a run. Doug said we're gonna, let him play and see. It's not like you make a mistake, you're out type situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of something you want to hear, like not gripping your stick too tight and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm definitely excited.
In your short time here, how has your experience been with Pareko and Fowler and Falk and kind of learning from those guys who have been here for so long and really in the league for a while?
Yeah, I mean, well, you said it. There's a couple guys with over 1,000 games and closing in on 1,000 games. So it's pretty cool to just kind of get to pick their brains and see what they do kind of day in, day out. So definitely some guys I can look up to around here.
How important are those guys in your development in this league?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Kind of come in, and I mean, you watch those guys on TV and stuff growing up, and then being here and kind of learning from them, like just little things every day. I think it's definitely big. Good.
Thank you.
So I think listening to Logan, how can you not be excited about him? I mean, he just has so much potential and he seems very humble and composed and definitely not the narrative that I feel like the national media painted of him. I mean, I was talking to some people about Logan today, and I think that again, with all the things that transpired in the past, he was a kid, right? And he's such a good player, such a good defenseman. And I want to just remind you that he was an all-star in the AHL a couple of years back. He is such a fantastic player as a whole. So for me personally, when I'm looking at players, right, and I'm looking at what they can bring to the table, of course I'm looking at their skill set. I also want to play you again a couple um minutes of Dylan Holloway talking to the media about how he was feeling since he will be in the game tomorrow night. So take a listen to Dylan Media again, courtesy of the St. Louis Blues.
Being back with this team, being back on the ice, wearing the blue note again.
Yeah, it's great. It's super exciting. Every time you kind of get back in the groove of things and into the routine, it's always really fun. And I thought we had a good skate today, and it's exciting to see the group that we got. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Bonnie said it looked like you haven't missed a beat over the summer. Is that how you feel? Do you feel back to how you were playing?
Yeah, I feel good. I was fortunate enough that the injury actually healed faster than anticipated. So I was able to get a good summer in of like skating 100%, working out 100%, and kind of trying to get better and not really think about the oblique. So I feel pretty good right now, and just hopefully I can keep it going.
What happened?
I tore my oblique off the hip bone, and they needed to surgically repair it to kind of like pull it back down and attach it to the hip bone. So it was kind of an extensive abdomen surgery, kind of a fluke injury, honestly. They said they haven't really seen anything like that before, but I was just fortunate enough that the surgeons did a great job, and the recovery went good.
Is that as painful as it sounds?
Yeah, it was brutal there for a bit. It was like anytime you kind of clench your core or anything for a couple weeks, it was just excruciating pain. So I was in the hospital for a couple days and then just on the couch for a couple weeks. But once I kind of turned the corner, I was able to do a lot of things.
So I wanted to play you that just to remind you of what Dylan Holloway went through because obviously, um, first off, that's disgusting. I'll say for how it is. If I talk too much about it, I'm gonna get sick. That's why I let Holloway talk about it. But he did go through a lot, right? There's no denying that. But on the other hand, what I will say is that he is healthy now. And that is what I am most happy about. That we have a healthy Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway is one of those players that is a game maker, right? But we have to be realistic with this preseason game one, where you're not going to see guys be so explosive and so physical. Maybe the younger players, absolutely, but some of the older guys, and I'm not saying Dylan Holloway is an older guy, but he obviously is, a main roster player. Um, you want to also protect yourself too for the regular season because you have 82 games and then the playoffs to give it your all. So I'm expecting tomorrow to be kind of like a rehab assignment, right? Where he's going to go on the ice again, get a feel for everything, gain confidence again. That's the most important aspect of this. For players like a Jordan Bennington, I expect him maybe to play one period in net and then Colton Ellis the other two. Again, you don't want to overuse your starters, your main core guys in preseason games. And I get it's still a game. These guys are still going to be competitive, obviously. Like, you can't take the competitive factor out of any NHL player. But at the same time, you need to remind yourself that this is a preseason game. Your health for the regular season is most important. But if you're a younger guy fighting for a roster spot, again, I understand completely why you would have a little bit more edge to your game. All right. It is my favorite segment. It is my only weekly segment. It is called Are We Feeling Blue, where we talk about if this was a good week or a bad week for the St. Louis Blues. For me, this was a good week. We have hockey again. It is now the 25-26 season. Trading camp has gone underway. There are so many positives, right? Now that we have entered this time. Training camp. We have preseason games, and for what it's worth, I am excited about that. We have Coach Montgomery, who is holding this team so accountable and has goals, has expectations. And I want to touch on that for a moment of why that makes me excited. I love that he is saying, you know what, training camp, it matters, it counts. This all counts towards the start of the regular season. My goal for the Blues is not only to get back to the playoffs, right? But it's to be a contending team, a cup contending team a couple years from now. And you're not going to get there when you have coaches that are not going to set that precedent. You need to have a motivated coaching staff. I mean, for what it's worth, the Blues posted a video of Monty mic'd up. And I saw Bertuzzo, and it just reminded me of how special our team was when we won the cup, right? The magic that happened in that game 7 in TD Garden. I want that again. I crave that again. And we will always be cup champions. Well, 2018, 2019 cup champions, but we will always have that, right? Binnington will always be a Stanley Cup champion. Robert Thomas will always be a Stanley Cup champion. Jordan Kyrou is not a Stanley Cup champion. Holloway, not a cup champion. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's certain players that have not achieved the goal that every single NHL player has, and that is to hoist the Stanley Cup. And it matters. It matters so much to keep that hunger. I was talking to a couple people about Jordan Binnington specifically, because I do think he's one of the best goalies in the NHL currently. And people will say, well, you know what? He doesn't always have the best regular seasons. Okay, well, the defense in front of him has not been good. They have not been helpful. Last year, you had Nick Leddy that would just kind of stand there and not do anything in front of the net, right? And left Binner out to dry. I think this year, it's not going to be like that. You're going to have younger players hopefully make the team and make a difference. I mean, I cannot wait for Adam Juracek to make the team one day, right? He's such a good defenseman. And I think that's what's most exciting for me as a Blues fan right now. It's the endless possibilities of what this team can be down the road. And I have to thank a couple of people like Doug Armstrong and just the front office for drafting such talented players, for making such important trades. I mean, Doug said a couple days ago, he really did emphasize the importance of getting Broberg and Holloway. And I think that goes without needing to say that that changed the direction of the team. I mean, Doug will say it, and I'll say it, and every single Blues fan will say it, because this was one of the most, in my opinion, biggest trades that we've had in quite a while. And I think that for the Blues' sake, at least, they needed to get younger, but they needed to get faster. They needed to get more physical, and they needed to get more competitive. So for me right now, I feel really good about this team. This is probably the most confident I've been about this team. And listen, if the Blues win tomorrow, great. If they lose tomorrow, whatever, because I don't really care about the outcome of the game. It's about how players are individually. A part of me was kind of hoping that Dylan Holloway and Jordan Kyrou would both be in the game together, because I just love how they played together. It's so exciting to watch, especially Kyrou's game just be elevated due to Holloway. But at the same time, I understand why they're not together. I mean, they have to try different things, and I get it. It's not a big deal. But again, I am so excited. We're going to talk tomorrow too, because I told you that we're going to talk every single day, you and I, because the Blues action does not stop on the weekends. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.